I'm Dr. Jordin Wiggins, and this is the Pleasure Principles podcast. Join me on this journey where sex, science, and sensuality meet. Let's change the conversation around sex and pleasure together. Welcome to the Pleasure Principles podcast. Today we have Dr. Caitlin. She is a PMDD specialist. If that made your eyes glaze over, I want you to listen because it is a hormone imbalance and it might even be affecting you and you don't know. So if you have variations in mood and sleep and anxiety, depression, you're going to want to listen in. So welcome, Dr. Caitlin. We went to high school together, right?
Yes, thanks for having me. Yep. And then we met again at Naturopathic College.
Which
you were a year younger than me in high school, so we didn't know each other that well. And then we're like, hey, we know each other.
Yes, which that's crazy because high school was a long time ago now.
I still remember chatting in the psychology group. And like the professor, you're like, she just like mind ninja'd me. And you're like, we started talking about things from high school and she was like digging in there. So I feel like
I remember who you mean. Man, some of those high school wounds that probably are still there. I was actually with a coach the other day and was bringing up like, when is the first time you remembered feeling alone? And I was like, oh, high school, mean girl shit.
Oh,
remember
doing, like, hypnosis lately, like guided like hypnosis, and they're saying that too, like when's the first time? And then even like elementary school, digging into the trauma. Anyways,
I was unaware of how much of it I had until the past maybe 5 years, but all good. So hormones, how they affect us as women and how they affect relationships. That's what I want to talk about today, and some of my own personal issues that I know you will all be able to relate to. So, Caitlin, first let's set the stage of what is it like in relationship for women when they have a hormone imbalance or PMDD?
Yeah, so I started noticing I was getting clients being referred from like couples therapists that they could do all the things, you're communicating all these things that you talk about all the time. And it was like that 5-day mark before your period where it all goes out the window and you just have no control. And then that's when women start digging into like, is there something else going on? So PMDD is like very, very severe PMS where you just feel that loss of control, and it makes it really hard on relationships. It makes you feel differently about your partner, makes you behave differently. And so women with that need more support.
I couldn't agree more. And I see that I'm screening for the health stuff while I'm working on the coaching relationship stuff. And sometimes with women, it'll be like, we're doing amazing. This is good. The sex is good. We're communicating. And then they'll come back and they'll be like, it all went to hell and whatever. And then I'm like, okay, I want you to track it. We're going to track it in a period app and let's see, is there this cyclical pattern to it? And oftentimes there is, and we're just so unaware.
Yeah. And there's a lot of sensory overwhelm and overload with PMDD. So it's like, I can't stand him chewing. He smells bad. I can't be around him, or he wants me to meet his in-laws today. And I'm just all the things that you want to do, you can't do.
So I have PMDD. Caitlin has had PMDD. For me, I think I had it in high school and in undergrad. I just wasn't aware. Mm-hmm. And then since having my daughter and since stopping breastfeeding the week before my period, I have been not sleeping, anxious, the sensory overwhelm. I bought earplugs for my kids because 3 kids under 7, it is loud. And it was like by the end of the night, I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
I wanted to like run away,
Yeah.
hide.
I meet like the nicest, loving, compassionate women, and they're like, normally their kids' screams are like these cute little screams, and it's like they're shrill. It's like claws on a chalkboard. Like they can't hug them. They can't have that like physical touch with them. Then their period comes. It's like a flip switches, and you're like, oh, you're this cute little munchkin again.
Yes. So I find there's a lot of gaslighting in the medical community. And I hate to say it, but because I feel like that term has just been so overused. But where we're not believing women about their hormone symptoms and the severity of their hormone symptoms,
Mhm.
and then they end up just tolerating it and not getting help.
Yeah. Yeah. And feeling so bad about themselves too. That I like to say that it's like these little estrogens are like little gremlins coming up. And it's not you. It's just when you snap at your husband and you're just like, I'm going to kill you if you don't put the dishes in the right cupboard, or if he puts the bowls where the plates could go. And she's like, I'm going to rip off your face. It's not that you're a bad person for doing that. It's just a little cue coming up of like, my estrogen needs some love. Like, let's just pay attention to this. Let's do something about it.
Yeah. And I guess for me, there's shame. And I think with all women, if there's something wrong, our first
Mhm.
thing is to blame ourselves and not look for an external explanation.
Yeah. Because you don't want to be snapping at him and you don't want to be communicating like that. Like a lot of my clients too have like psychology degrees or they're teachers and they're very trained in communication, healthy boundaries, and they know what to do and they don't want to be doing that.
Mm-hmm. But it's almost like you can't help it or you can't catch it.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, I have enough awareness to know, and we have like cues and everything in my relationship where I will say, like, can we talk about this in 3 days?
Yeah.
Because I know that what's going to come out right now is not
Yeah.
useful. Or I'm journaling my feelings. So if I need to come back to them, I can. And then sometimes when you get your period, then it's not even relevant anymore because you're like, that
Yeah.
was the estrogen or like
Yeah.
my hormone imbalance talking. It
Yeah,
wasn't really me.
progesterone really makes you feel emotions with more intensity. So even if you don't have really like severe PMS or really extreme emotions, it does make you feel things more intensely. You're using a different part of your brain. You're using the right hemisphere. You are more intuitive, and that's really fun. But you're going to be thinking about things differently. You're going to be using the logical, like more left hemisphere after your period starts. And so it is good to have that pause and to track your cycles. Tracking is so healing for women to just be like, oh, yeah, let's just wait to have that conversation. Let's just see if that's still relevant.
Yeah. And learning, like teaching clients to be able to time it
Mhm.
is it's life changing, even for business decisions or
Mhm.
stuff with your kids, right? Like sometimes if it's not detrimental for it to wait a few
Yeah.
days or a week, it's going to go so much better. And, I'm working on getting to the root of desires and connection and intimacy. And obviously, a hormone imbalance, especially when your partner doesn't like when you don't understand what's going on and the timing of it and you can't really correct for it. So for me, my anxiety is insane. Let's get into my blood work. We're going to have Dr. Caitlin assess me so we can make this tangible for
Mhm.
everyone listening. So
So
reminder.
Jordan's hormones are just through the roof. She just showed me before, and I was like, damn it, Jordan, what's going on here? Your estrogen's high, your progesterone's super high. So with progesterone being that high, it's like most times PMS, you see a practitioner, they're like, oh, your progesterone's a bit low. Let's boost it up if we're seeing like more naturopathic holistic practitioners. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, your progesterone's really good. But progesterone can go too high, and then often, like most of my clients with PMDD have really high progesterone. I didn't have PMDD. I have more like strong hormonal anxiety, but it wasn't so severe. I had super intense cramping with high estrogen. I had low progesterone. So with that high progesterone, what I'm like psychic reading is that you are not feeling good those 5 days before your period, especially when that level drops. Most people are going to have this little gentle decline before the period. They're feeling calm, and then all of a sudden they feel more intense.
Oh no, I have a crash.
You have a crash. Like the plane is crashing. And so progesterone is like BFFs with your neurotransmitter GABA that makes us feel really calm. We release GABA when we're meditating, listening to calming music, when we're drinking wine. We know what GABA feels like. We're chill. And so when your progesterone crashes, it's like your brain is now left in this dark void, no GABA. You hate everything. You feel super anxious. Anything can set you off. Your mind's spiraling, and you want to do the deep breathing and like lavender essential oils, but it's not.
It doesn't work. It doesn't cut it. And I'm always looking for that with the women that I work with, because it's like, if you're doing the things, but it's not helping, we need to look further. We need to look into hormones. We need to know like what else is going on.
Yeah.
So that is exactly how I feel. Extremely anxious. And it's like anxiety that I can't catch, that I can't get a hold of, that doing, like I could do an entire yoga class and go sit in a steam room. And normally after that, I would feel like zen and relaxed and like in my body and really, I feel really good, really at peace after doing that, taking that hour and a half to like chill.
Yeah.
At that time in my cycle, not a chance.
And you probably feel like this flip switch that about 2 days, 3 days into your period, you're just like, then I'm
like, okay, I'm me again.
Yeah. You can handle anything. You're crushing it. You're like, love your husband. You want to have sex again. You're feeling good.
Exactly. So, and this is to give an idea of what treatment plan would look like. This is going to be different for every woman. So just if you hear Dr. Caitlin say something, it doesn't mean that this is right for you. She's talking about me and about my case. But I want you to know, listening, like that there is solutions and they're not necessarily hard or challenging, and you can feel good.
Yeah. I'm all about minimalism and simplicity.
Yeah, because again, when we are in that overwhelm, like we don't need more on our plate. So what would you recommend for me to do with the high progesterone treatment wise?
So I'll run you through my 4 steps or my 4 pillars in a PMDD protocol. So the first is that we need to know what's the hormone that's causing the issue. So estrogen is our queen hormone. She makes us feel really sharp, fiery, energetic. She's coming up as your period's ending. That's when you're feeling good. And when she's too high, she's like our evil queen. So now you're snapping at him. You can't stand your kids and you just like feel terrible, angry, full of rage. Like I remember walking down the street in this cute little town that I work in, and it's like not cobblestone road, but the bricks and like sunshine. I'm like, it's so beautiful. I love going to the office. And I just felt like this seething rage of like, I hate everything. And I just like, it was just a few days before my period. I'm like, interesting. So estrogen,
good to witness.
Estrogen is our evil queen when she's too high. So we need to know who's causing the problem. You have like way too much of that evil queen.
So I've got a big evil queen. My Callie, for my listeners, my clients, like that's our anger goddess. Is she goes out of control sometimes in my cycle.
Good to have anger, but it's really intensified. So we like it at like blood work 250 or so. Yours is in the 500s. So that's intense. It's not like 20 points over. That's a lot.
Oh, and I'm more than double ideal on my estrogen.
And then your progesterone is like around 30 is normal. You're into the 50s.
61.5.
So you have 2 very strong mood hormones going against you. And they're really out of the picture once your period starts. So that's when you're feeling like yourself. No hormones around. You see that strong hormonal link. Because that's a big thing with PMDD. It's like Are you having really severe mood changes? It has to be linked to that time before your cycle. So we need to know who's causing the issues. For me, my progesterone is low. So I would feel really sad, more anxious before my period, and I would do things to boost it up. For you, you need to get these hormones out of you. So the first thing is knowing what those are. The second is that we're looking at the cortisol response and your stress response. So that really messes with the other hormones. But I'm actually just gonna so then the stress response, and then the third is supporting natural detoxification. So one way that our body gets rid of these hormones is through the liver, through the GI tract. So a lot of our like supplements to lower estrogen are working on clearing things out of the liver, and that's worked the best. Like almost all my clients have with PMDD have high estrogen, and a protocol to lower estrogen has been the most effective. There's not exactly like a specific supplement that boosts progesterone, but a lot of the PMS supplements are looking at boosting progesterone. So women with PMDD often go to take that and they feel a lot worse.
Worse. Yeah, definitely.
So lowering, yeah.
Okay. And so we can get an idea for the listeners. And again, this is me. This is not. So first, let's talk about the cortisol stuff. And then I would talk about what you would want me to do looking at my specific case, my specific blood work. So I know that I've had cortisol dysregulation through just, and I mean, who hasn't in the past few years with everything that's gone on in the world, just like woman after woman, it's like HPA axis dysfunction and cortisol dysregulation, burnout, like whatever we want to call it, but over and over and over. So how would you say to best like manage cortisol, or tips for women? And this is a big thing to unpack, but what do you see really work with the women that you work with?
A lot of self-compassion. I like Kristen Neff, the psychologist, where she talks about self-compassion, being kind to yourself, treating yourself as you would a friend, being easier on yourself. And then especially the luteal phase self-care becomes a million times more important when you have PMDD, that you're not selfish for stepping away, for communicating with your partner what you need. And it can change from hour to hour with PMDD if you want like love and reassurance and a hug, or if you're like, I can't stand people, don't touch me. And having those conversations in the follicular phase and kind of giving that heads up when you're calm, you can see how they're sensing things of, I love you, you're amazing, but I don't want to be touched sometimes. If you chew, it's going to set my brain off into a spiral. So I need to go aside. I need to go for a walk. You need to be with the kids more at this point, and communicating what you need there and taking that extra self-care time.
Love it. And for those listening, luteal phase is the time from ovulation to your period, like your PMS time, when your hormones would be doing the roller coaster thing.
Yeah.
And follicular is period to ovulation, when we would want to be having those conversations. And that's something that I've noticed for me to manage this. Well, first of all, knowing and obviously being able to communicate it, but needing that self-care is important, and what I'm going to get done during the day and how much rest I need, or the things that I'm spending my time doing. Like I'm not going to see 3 clients a day that week.
Yeah.
And I plan my calendar around it for the most part. I mean, it's not an exact science when you're cycling naturally, but I've also been okay with the PMDD, so hormone fluctuations have been, and I don't know if you've had any clients with this, but my hormone fluctuations stayed in like 19 to 20, 21 will trigger like super severe vomiting sometimes, which I thought was my hormones. I mean, I thought the hormones was the cause in all of it, but it turns out that the hormones can trigger something called cyclical vomiting syndrome, which has to do with our nervous system, our endocrine system, immune system, and gastrointestinal system. So the neurotransmitter piece was really interesting for me because I was thinking, oh, this is something to do with my hormones. And if I balance my hormones, the vomiting will stop. But when in fact there's this like whole extra layer. Have you had anyone with cyclical?
You're the
No.
first.
Yeah, and I'm telling you because it's like every doctor that I talk to is like, this is like clinically fascinating. No one's heard of it, which is it takes an average of 8 years to get a diagnosis.
Oh my God.
So not only the PMDD, but that too. Anyways, walk us through, because I know like the mood stuff. So with the high progesterone and the crash and progesterone in our GABA receptors, like what would you recommend that I do?
So there's luteal phase dosing supplements, just like with PMDD, in the conventional world, luteal phase dosing antidepressants, SSRIs, the serotonin antidepressant type of medications, they'll use those just from the time of ovulation to the time that your period starts. So what we do, or what I do in my world, is like luteal phase dosing of supplements. There's some people have a really bad reaction to progesterone. So it's as soon as it comes into the body at ovulation, your cue is that as soon as you ovulate, you just feel like a different person. You feel terrible. And so as soon as your period starts, you feel really good again. So some people have a bad reaction to it. And it's because there's certain nutrient deficiencies, or one theory is that there's certain nutrient deficiencies that are happening that make our GABA receptors look weird and they don't accept the progesterone. And so you have this bad response because your GABA receptors can't accept it. So there's certain supplements that you can do in the luteal phase. And then there's certain supplements that clear out the estrogen. So you can get on a supplement all month long for the estrogen support. And then there's some specific things just in the luteal phase that we're supporting the neurotransmitters, we're supporting the GABA receptor repair with certain nutrients that could be lacking.
Okay, so tell me what you would recommend that I do to balance my hormones and get me feeling good throughout my cycle.
Okay, so the estrogen piece, I'm looking at broccoli and the cruciferous veggies. Those are the most potent at getting estrogen out of there. They contain something called I3C, and that converts to DIM in the body. And the DIM is what really clears out the estrogen from your body. So whether we're using foods or supplements, you would just decide with your healthcare practitioner what you're going to use, what's safe for you, because there's certain considerations when you're using supplements, like how well does your body detox? What else does it need? But typically in the broccoli family, that's like your go-to biggest punch for getting estrogen down the fastest. And then I'm doing things like seed cycling. I would want you to look into, and that helps us get back into that natural, like cyclical rhythm. Some people wonder, like, if I'm eating sesame seeds and boosting progesterone, is that bad with PMDD? But the seeds are very adaptogenic, that they can see progesterone's full and they help balance it out and they help your body do what it needs to do. So I still seed cycle when I'm working with someone with PMDD. So I'm using the flax and pumpkin seeds during the first 2 weeks of the cycle. That's what I would tell you to do. And then the sesame and sunflower seeds in the last 2 weeks. And I've had clients where their supplements didn't come in. They loaded up on sesame seeds and found like a 10 out of 10 worse mood to like a 3 out of 10. Sorry, that was one client I'm thinking of, but she had like this drastic change with sesame seeds where I was like, oh my God, that was so simple. It's not like that for everyone, obviously. But these certain like little potent things can work really well.
I found seed cycling to be like very simple, but extremely effective in a huge percentage of my clients and the ones that are like me with a lot going on, a lot of the cortisol issues and hormone issues and nervous system dysregulation and all these things, like need a little more. Like the seed cycling, I don't think is the holy grail.
Yeah, for you, like we're going more into the supplements, like your estrogen is so high, it's going to take you a year to get that down with like just foods probably. I mean, sometimes I see things like happen way faster. Like so if clients are breastfeeding and they can't do a supplement, it's like 4 months versus like 4 to 8 weeks if we're doing a supplement. So for you, like maybe the DIM supplement would be better, but and then we just make sure like you have all the nutrients that you need to also take with the DIM. Like you might need like a multivitamin or something with it if you don't detox properly. So just assess you first.
Exactly. And that's what's really key is having proper assessment and having proper assessment from the correct practitioner, because listening to any recommendations that Dr. Caitlin would make for me or things that I do to treat myself that I share, it's not just like copy paste and it works for everyone else, because my liver oddly is like functioning amazing, which I've done blood work and had an MRI and other metabolic stuff. And I've been supporting phase 1 and 2 detox for a while. But with the cyclical vomiting syndrome and with the food poisoning that I got in Montenegro in the summer, the Campylobacter, my gut was a mess. So I've had to spend the last few months like healing my gut. And may I say that my whole house had a gastro bug, and guess who didn't get it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So all that work on my gut is paying off. But remember, Dr. Caitlin said, like, and we detox estrogen from like our colons, from our poo. So yes. So a lot of women that I work with, busy, whatever, sometimes we're running on coffee and not the best nutrition for ourselves, and we're not pooing. Or people think, oh, I poo every 3 days. That's my normal. Okay, well, it's normal for you, but it's not frequent enough to be really detoxing your excess estrogen. So yeah, my point being, we need the individualized treatment.
Yeah, exactly. Even just saying more about gut health, like maybe it's not so much the liver support that you would really benefit from right now, but maybe your estrogen's just getting reabsorbed back into your system and you need to keep focusing on pooping.
Yeah. And like the whole pregnancy, breastfeeding, and I know the stress of the last few years and closing my medical clinic, all the things, supporting so many people through the pandemic, not taking a maternity leave,
Yeah.
just all of these things that I did to where I was off, like in a sympathetic nervous state for probably 2 years. Having that, like needing to sort that piece out too, I think is big, and being kinder to myself, that self-love, like you mentioned, has been important. And take that mindset of, for all the listeners, I can do it. I can do it by myself. What's wrong with me? I used to be able to work 100 hours a week, or I used to be able to handle this. I actually had a client this morning. She's like, I used to be able to work 100 hours a week in heels and a skirt. And I was like, me too. Not anymore. So yeah, and giving yourself that grace, especially in the times of our cycle that we need to, and allowing it to be okay, that's actually where the healing can come from.
Yeah, letting it be a cue, like as soon as you start to snap at someone or you're just crying out of nowhere and you're like, what is wrong with me? Am I going to be like this forever? It's just like, no, it's just your cue. Your hormones are screaming out for a little more love. We're going to look into a supplement, a food, whatever you need to do.
Gut healing, cortisol balance.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So anywhere the listeners can find you, any resources that you want to share?
Yeah, I'd love to share my handout on PMDD communication tips with your partner. So my Instagram is at Dr. Shea Naturopath. If they want to DM me there, and I can send it over to them, the relationship handout, and it's SHEA for that.
We will link your Instagram in the show notes so it's easy to find. I know with my name too, the Jordin and the spelling and stuff, people need the link or else they can't find me. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and knowledge, and I think really giving women some hope to the snapping and stuff, that there is a solution.
Yeah. Thanks for having me and everything that you do.
Have a great week, everybody.
If you like what you heard in this episode, leave me a rating. Your support helps me get discovered by more women like you. Together, we can change the conversation around women's sexual health and pleasure for you, your partners, and generations to come.